you've heard a few tables so far. We have the very rosy picture. We have a little bit of a honest picture. What do you think?
Well, I think that we as a community shouldn't be afraid to be excited and positive about the things that are happening. There's a certain Midwestern sensibility that can creep in where we don't celebrate enough. And I think it's important to recognize that celebrating doesn't mean that you've stopped trying, doesn't mean that you're resting on your laurels. And I believe that we can both be proud of what we've accomplished and still set a high bar for the future. So you can do a mix.
I think those of us in the community are geeking out a little bit on entrepreneurship this week.
It's a big week.
It's been a big week, and
yeah.
It's been a lot of fun. And looking at Startup Connection last night with 1,300 people in the room and giving away some money, we should celebrate it. And I think we were talking in the back room a little bit about how the folks outside of St. Louis are sometimes the biggest proponents, and we don't talk about it enough here. And we should. We can't be totally in the echo chamber, but
Well, I think the more that we celebrate, the more other people want to be involved in it. Investors want to be involved, other startups want to be involved, people from other communities want to be involved. And I think we can take a critical look at it and be honest, but there are times, especially this week, it's Global Entrepreneurship Week, it's our time to celebrate. And so yeah, we should have a little bit more swagger this week.
All right, you guys celebrate. I'll be cynical.
All right.
We'll see where this lands.
Drive the conversation.
I'm getting this, analogies can often go wrong, so forgive me if this goes sideways, but I'm thinking of like, I'm a really terrible campfire builder, but I'm awesome with the lighter fluid. But then it never takes. And I give it the lighter fluid, I give it the lighter fluid, I give it the lighter fluid. But then when it's on its own and it has to sustain itself, are we just running on lighter fluid here? How long?
Well, I would, so if we think of lighter...
Are we tracking here?
Yeah, no.
So
don't totally follow the analogy.
Yeah, but I would say...
I'm saying, are we only just enticing people to come with weeks like we just had? Or is there anything that this is doing on its own?
No, I mean, I think that we have this week is an indicator of a series of things that's been happening for the last 5 years, 3 years especially. And if I use lighter fluid as analogous to cash, right? Money to keep the fire burning for entrepreneurs. St. Louis is still one of the most capital efficient places, so you don't have to keep squirting lighter fluid on there. But maybe we need a little lighter fluid to get going. But we're also very good at fanning the flames here. We're very good at stoking the fire. We're very good at follow-on funding. So MTC and Arch grants and all these seed funding programs have resulted in de-risked deals, so there's follow-on funding. There's more fuel coming in. The real test is will we start buying things from ourselves? Will we start buying local so that revenue can be the fuel that really drives it? Kindling is great, but we need big logs, and big logs come from revenue.
Yeah, I would actually, to use your analogy, I would argue we're more of a community of firewood than lighter fluid.
Absolutely.
That we've got the basis for great things. We've got an incredible talent pool. We've got actually one of the envies of other mid-market cities is the university system here. They have schools like Washington University and St. Louis University in such a densely packed area, so accessible, feeding so much talent, is absolutely the envy of places like Kansas City or Indianapolis or a lot of other of our peer cities. We also have incredible local ecosystem structure. The number of community organizations we have in St. Louis is far beyond what normal cities have. It really is.
We talk about ecosystem a lot on the previous shows that we've done, and we talked about kind of building that. Just remind everyone, what do we mean by this whole ecosystem, and is it improving? What do we need to do with it?
I think it's getting bigger, and the fabric is strengthening a little bit. So we mean all of the support organizations, we need the funding, we mean the entrepreneurs themselves, and how that whole system of support kind of goes together. And I want to take a look at that kindling for a minute, because I think we're seeing, to go back to your fabulous,
We're going to go down this road.
No, you did. You doubted me at first, and now you're all on board.
We're with you. I think we're seeing this groundswelling of support, kind of the underbrush of that fire you're building, as we take a look at some of the awards that were given last night at Startup Connection for some of these maybe underserved markets. So we have women, we have minorities, we have veterans. We talk a lot about the big sexy businesses, and that's very important. But I think we're getting some breadth with some of those other businesses that we don't normally include in the ecosystem, and we're finding some organizations that are helping those folks find their way through that fabric.
So to use the analogy, we're not just burning white pine anymore, right? There's some dark walnut in there too.
Amy points out some of the how the ecosystem has evolved and is getting more sophisticated. That we have organizations that now are just not focused on entrepreneurship, generally speaking. They're actually finding niches where we can excel, and I think that's really a key point. And somebody asked me what is different from a year ago than what's happening today. And in the last year, I think St. Louis has really started identifying those areas where we can actually excel above other regions, other cities. Areas like fintech, where the 630 Accelerator is bringing in top fintech companies from around the world, because with the financial services corporations here, we can actually do fintech better than you can do fintech in Silicon Valley. That might not be true of every kind of technology business, but it's true of that. Same with ag tech, with Yield Lab, bringing in the top ag tech companies from around the world. They had applications from every continent in the world. They even had applications from Kazakhstan. And they had every country in South America except for Paraguay and Uruguay. It was extraordinary, the amount of interest for some entrepreneurs from all over the world wanting to come to St. Louis, because we've got a great story at ag tech. Prosper is doing the same thing for female entrepreneurship. We've got programs for minority and veteran entrepreneurship. So what we're seeing is the ecosystem's evolving, that it's not just now entrepreneurship in general, hey, start some business, we don't care what it is, let's just start doing something, where we're really finding areas where we can get unique traction and we can excel. I think that's an important part of our maturing as an organization.
Our identity.
Can I add things to, like arts and food and culture and education? I talk to artists a lot about how they are innovators and they are entrepreneurs. And I think that's kind of some of the understory that we don't always talk about. But we've got a lot of great strength in that in St. Louis as well.
When I was putting my board of directors together for Venture Cafe, the first two people I thought of were Christina Van Dyke from the Pulitzer Foundation and Jim McCarter, who was with the Divergence, and then acquired by Monsanto, and then now is a biotech entrepreneur. Like, we have both of these folks, and they're both innovators and entrepreneurs in their own right.